facilities, Simcoe County Federation of Agriculture, Environmental Defense, Rescuing Simcoe Coalition, Zero Waste Simcoe, NDAC, which is the North Dufferin Agricultural and Community Task Force, Ontario Farmland Preservation, Simcoe Solar Farm Awareness Project, Clearview Community Coalition, the Simcoe Region Chapter of Council of Canadians, and Lakehead University. And I particularly want to thank Lakehead for donating this great facility today. And they've gone out of their way to help us out here and make everything happen. So without further ado, I'll introduce our moderator for the day, Dr. Sergio Islam. He's the chair of the Political Science Department here at Lakehead. And our timekeeper is Dr. Zerio Purvey, who's a professor in the environmental studies. So I'll turn it over to Sergio. There you go.
Thank you, Senator. Good afternoon. Distinguished ladies and gentlemen and honorable candidates. As you know, we in Canada have a federal system of government in which there is 3 levels of government: national, provincial, and municipal. Provincial level of government, each level of government election is very significant for us. In particular, this election, the provincial level election, is significant because the provincial level of government has some autonomy in certain areas, and therefore policies related to the issue of education, employment, health, and environment are very significant for the citizens of Ontario in general and for the residents of Simcoe County in particular. And more particularly for Orillia, issues related to land and water are very significant. So, rather than going into further detail, just to highlight that today's theme of the debate is land and water in crisis. We have 4 candidates: Garfield Dunlop from BC, Fred Larson from Liberal Party, Doris Middleton from NDP, and Peter Stubbins from Green Party. In terms of how we are going to organize this debate, just to highlight a few things that I would like to tell to all the participants here. In the first place, certain rules. Applause is allowed, but please no heckling or jeering. Number 2, candidates will have an opening statement of 2 minutes. Number 3, a panel of sponsors will ask 4 questions with maximum 2 minutes response by the candidate. The 4 panels are and from Simcoe County Federation of Agriculture, but for certain family reasons she will be absent. And on behalf of her, Bernard Pope, who is another panelist from Ontario Farmland Preservation and Football are question. Tim Cruz, Rescue Lake Simcoe Coalition, and Kevin Bloom from Zero Waste Simcoe. Once these 4 written questions are over, and then the written questions will be accepted from the audience, and the candidates will be allowed maximum 2-minute answers in each question. These are the primary rules of today's debate. Basically, we are going to start now. And as you understand, in the very first class of my class, in the introduction to political science class, I asked the question to the student, what is politics? And the answer that I tried to give is that politics is the art of getting things done. So we will see how these four candidates can get the things done. Thank you.
Good afternoon. Thank you to the organizers of this event. You are certainly a prestigious list of attending contributors. I want to commend you on your coordination of this event and your attention to detail. Because of the interests of the organizers, I'll focus my comments on the NDP platform for the environmental and for agricultural issues. The NDP believe that the people of Ontario want environmentally friendly progress, but that it must be affordable. We are disappointed that right now that the Liberals appear to be pulling back on conservation strategies by 2015. The NDP emphasis is on conservation. If you use less, it will cost less. Our biggest polluters should share the burden of cleaning the environment, and an NDP government believes in providing incentives for both businesses and citizens to go green. We would take the money being invested in new nuclear mega schemes and invest it in energy efficiency programs that would go back into our household budget. We are committed to existing operations and will carefully assess the need for any type of refurbishes on the present projects. Energy generated from wind turbines and solar are certainly a viable source of renewable alternative energy. The NDP is committed to continue with this, but we would involve the public sector for more planning and siting of further large projects. Area residents would have more opportunity to voice their opinion if it was brought into the public realm. As for the agricultural platform, it is aimed at ensuring a brighter future for rural Ontario. We would introduce legislation to ensure that public money spent on local produce is sourced from Ontario farmers. We would fund the planned expansion of the risk management program to include cattle, sheep, pork, veal, and horticulture. We would review regulatory barriers that put Ontario farmers at a competitive disadvantage. And rural employers would be eligible for our training credit to help them invest in Ontario agricultural workers. Our environment and our land is our future. We need to tend and care for it now. It is our civic duty to leave the land in better shape than we have found it. Thank you, and I look forward to your questions.
May I ask Governor Pope to ask the first question that you have?
Here's the first question. The current Green Energy Act is a powerful piece of legislation that removes meaningful input from the municipalities and the general population. It has repealed much prior meaningful legislation, such as the Water Resources Act, and has placed the Ontario Power Authority in a role of major importance and power by allowing the Canadian land inventory to be the most important guide with regard to land use for the decision to offer contracts to the solar and electrical generating facility developers. Two-part question. If your party forms the next government, how will you work to restructure the existing Green Energy Act? And secondly, what will you do to control the Ontario Power Authority from contracting with developers without prior consultation from municipalities and the consideration of citizens local to the proposed solar electrical generating facilities?
Certainly an area of controversy in this riding. It's become more and more evident to me throughout the election period. As far as the Green Energy Act is here to stay, but if the NDP was elected, there would certainly be more public involvement in it. And I guess I can reiterate some of the points that Garth says, that the public consultation and community involvement. Community involvement.
I think it's working here.
It's okay? Okay. Community involvement is certainly has been lacking, and that would certainly be something that the NDP would become more involved in. Also, as well, any larger projects, the NDP would look into being more public than private, because again, the consultation would, because it's public, would there be a requirement for consultation, and that in itself would take into consideration the needs and wants of the area. I mean, I as well believe that we do need an alternative form of energy. I've seen it in Europe, but I do believe in many ways there needs to be more consultation and planning around them and what we presently have. Thank you.
Thank you. Now, may I ask Team now to ask the second question?
Is this working? Yes. Thank you, Mike. My name is Tim Cruz. I'm speaking on behalf of the members of the Rescue Lake Simcoe Coalition. The Lake Simcoe Protection Plan is a wonderful piece of legislation. We're very grateful for it. The implementation of the plan is off to a very good start, but while we are trying to reduce the phosphorus loads going into Lake Simcoe by 40%, new residential and commercial development is going to add 18 to 20% more phosphorus than is flowing in now. So much more has to be done to save Lake Simcoe, but provincial funding commitments run out in 2012. My question. The Liberal government provided $20 million over 4 years to implement the Lake Simcoe Protection Plan. And my question is, will the next elected provincial government repeat that commitment, that financial commitment to support the Rescue Lake Simcoe Protection Plan?
Well, those of you in this room that were responsible for partly responsible for passing this act, you are democracy in motion, and I commend you. That's what it's all about, is letting government know when what needs to be done, because sometimes the government doesn't realize what needs to be done. The NDP certainly is committed to protection of Lake Simcoe, and we did vote in favor of the Lake Simcoe Protection Act. But we were disappointed because the NDP also put forward many amendments that were defeated, and I'll just list a few of those amendments because I think they probably would have been very good for the area. We did this on behalf of many environmental citizen groups. One was to strengthen the Act by allowing municipalities to pass stronger local regulations and bylaws. Another was to require a 100-meter buffer zone between developments and shorelines. Another was a more balanced representation of the Lake Simcoe Coordinating Committee, and financing to ensure adequate enforcement of the Lake Simcoe Protection Plan. So there was many other things that were put in there that were defeated by the Métis government. We will continue to push for adequate funding, implementation, and enforcement of the plan, and we are certainly there looking, as Garfield was talking about, saving the marshes and wetlands and protecting further resources in our area. Just again to say the only thing that really makes things work is when citizens speak out, so thank you very much in the room to those of you that did that.
I'm asking this question for any of those who cannot be here today. Although farmland loss is not tracked as extensively today as it was in previous decades, Ontario has lost at least 500,000 acres of farmland between 1996 and 2001. For this reason, Ontario's farmland should be seen as a limited natural resource to be managed and protected. The question is, what policy changes will your party commit to that will protect farmland, support farmers, encourage a higher agricultural education for our youth?
Well, the NDP does have a rather interesting platform this time around for agriculture, and one of them is certainly around education and ensuring that rural employers will be eligible for a training tax credit to help them invest in Ontario agricultural workers. As far as the actual pieces around policies around the preservation of farmland, etc., we would be looking more to ensure that to prevent the sprawl of land development, we would make sure that there would be more public consultation on that, and we would balance the playing field when it comes to new development by putting forward these types of consultation to oppose mega projects. Young people have to realize that there is a future in farming by protecting their rural schools, by providing more things for them in the area, and we would introduce legislation to ensure that public money would be spent more so on Ontario farmers. I think I will leave it at that point. Thank you.
Thank you. The fourth question from, may I ask Katie?
Yes, okay, thanks. First, I just want to thank all four of you, because I think you're all great people, and I appreciate what you're doing, and I really think we need a change in our political system, because I think teamwork is the only way we're going to solve a lot of these problems, and I hate to see such a great team of people being divided up. But anyway, besides that, I'm here, of course, on behalf of Zero Waste Simcoe to talk
They're very much united in a table.
Okay. I'm here to talk on behalf of Zero Waste Simcoe. Waste, as you know, is an example of an inefficient society, inefficiently managing our resources. Municipalities continue to pay the majority of costs to collect and divert or dispose of wasted products and packaging. Municipalities can no longer afford to do this. They can't afford to cover the costs, and nor can our air, land, and water continue to absorb the irresponsible use of our resources. The Association of Municipalities of Ontario, the Ontario Waste Management Association, the Recycling Council of Ontario, and of course Zero Waste Simcoe and many other organizations continue to request leadership from the province to develop sustainable waste reduction policies, including extended producer responsibility and deposit returns. Some of you may be familiar, we put together a petition to the Ontario Legislature requesting the return of deposit returns on all beverage containers. Some of you have signed it, and I hope that the rest of you, anyone interested in signing it, it will be here. Our question is, will your party support a waste policy based on extended producer responsibility, which includes deposit returns? And if yes, please describe your policy, its objectives, and how soon you will be implementing it.
Thank you. May I start with Doris, yes?
Yes. Well, the NDP certainly strongly support the extended producer responsibility. Even in our platform, it states anybody who is a polluter or anybody who is should be responsible for cleaning that up. I know that's extended at this point a little bit more to large businesses, but that means anybody who is creating waste should be responsible for ensuring that it is reduced. Ontarians want companies to produce goods that are safer and cleaner, and it makes sense that they produce products that they should be the ones who are paying for it. Companies have to internalize these costs, not pass it on to consumers, and there must be an incentive to reduce the waste in the packaging. We agree with the Ontario Environment Commission that the current program needs to be redesigned to ensure that producers pay the full cost of disposing this product, and that fees should be higher for more toxic products. If a company reduces toxic chemicals in paint, then they should pay a lower fee than the manufacturer who sells more toxic paint. The Liberal government has delayed the waste review by more than 2.5 years. We believe it needs to happen, and it needs to happen very expeditiously to review this and to implement the changes in the Act. We believe that waste diversion programs need to be more transparent and accountable, and they need to be more effective and independent oversight of this program. We would complete the long-stalled review of the Waste Reduction Act, make sure that most of the cost is the responsibility of the company, so that we don't end up paying for this on our property taxes or as an equal fee. And we believe that we should refocus on this and make it most cost-effective and environmentally benign. Thank you.
Thank you. Okay, so we have the second stage is done, and the third stage. From the audience, we requested questions. 30 persons have given the questions, but I don't know whether we have time. We have 25 minutes or so, and I'm going to read each question, and then the candidates have 2 minutes maximum to answer the questions. Okay? Okay. The first question that I'm reading, I may not be reading the questions in order of receipt I have, but the way I have it, I'm reading it. So please do not take it otherwise if I don't follow the order of receiving the questions. I'm just reading the questions in terms of how I have been given. So the first question that I have, since Lake Simcoe is receiving millions of dollars to save Lake Simcoe, what are you doing about water source protection and save the all-foreign where the water originates?
Well, we are certainly concerned about the loss of agricultural land to development, and just a few other points as well that are kind of shocking, I guess. 15% of lakes and rivers in the Great Lakes area have been damaged by sewage wastewater, and 23,000 chemical substances are used commercially by companies each year that find their way into that water. We need to do probably more than what we are doing now, and I will not profess to be an expert on what is being done in this area at this time, but there certainly are a number of groups that have brought it to the forefront again on what should be done. The more we continue to do that, and the more that these numbers become known, the more that we can work at it. I'm not familiar exactly with what our party policy is on the water, except for the fact that we certainly believe in a clean environment and ensuring that the pollution that is continuing and what is not happening to keep the water in this area, there should be more done in that way. Thank you.
Less than 30% of Ontario is farmland. There is a global crisis with a growing world human population. Now, all farmland in Ontario needs to be protected. What steps is your party taking to preserve and protect all the farmland that we have so that our children and our grandchildren can buy local in the future?
You know, in the process of this election, you have an opportunity to meet a number of people you probably wouldn't meet in your regular everyday life, and I consider myself very fortunate to have met some farmers and and to talk to people who have some of the small solar operations, and they have certainly educated me in a lot of ways. And I understand their concerns, and I understand probably much more about it than what I did 5 weeks ago. And some of their concerns are very much voiced here. You know, why are we putting 1 or 2 solar panels up or 3 solar panels up, right? So it's right outside my front window when I used to have, and there's no reason it's farmland. My understanding now with farmland is much better now because of the way that you measure it from your #1 question on this tonight. So, you know, there needs to be a lot of those things taken into consideration when they're being done. And our party platform is that we should be looking at that and considering and consulting with the people in the area much more so than just being a top-down approach. We're also looking at it being, for the larger ones, public, not private, because with public, it is, again, there generally needs to be more consultation rather than just coming in through the back door with a private company. So those are 2 pieces that I certainly have discovered since I've been, and actually in talking to one provider, which isn't really included in this, but right now, is it really viable? And you know, that's not something that I'll get into with this one because that doesn't really fit into the party platform. So we'll leave it at that. But yeah, we need to do a lot more consideration as to what we are doing with the farmland that we have, because once it's gone, where are we going to start doing growing food then? Thank you.
So the last question is, what will your respective parties do to encourage and support community-owned and managed renewable energy power projects?
Well, community means, to me, means public owned. It's not private owned. And that is part of the NDP platform. The NDP believes that, they should be, and renewable projects should be, because as soon as it is community public owned, there is more consultation, there's more planning, there's more input, and that fits right into what we've been saying about renewable energy projects. Thank you.
So that leads us to the final stage of this debate. What I'm going to do, I'm going to request Doris to give you a final thought to wrap up.
Okay. Well, thank you to the organizers of this event. You've had a dynamite job of keeping it flowing, and can't hear me? Is that better? Okay. It's important that those of you who are interested in these specific items have an opportunity to hear from us what our priorities are. During this campaign, I was invited to a grade 5-6 class, and actually the reason that I was invited to go there was because they wanted my opinion on wind turbines, rather appropriate for this. But anyhow, they certainly came up with a number of great ideas. But they did ask a question of me, and it was, is there anything that the other parties do that's any good? Well, you know what? Our parties represent different ideologies, we have different priorities, and we have pretty different records. But I think we all want to come to the same place. I think we all want a good environment. I think we all want to do the right things, but it's just how do we get there? I can attest to the fact that we're all pretty nice people. Garfield's even putting my signs back up when they blow down.
Like the beach.
We're hardworking. To make it through these 4 to 4.5 weeks, you'd have to be hardworking. And I think we're all fairly intelligent to be able to go through all of the information that we've had to disseminate. But the choice isn't about us or those pieces. What the choice is about is the type of government you want to have for the next 4 years, and that is quite different. A Tim Hudak PC-led government with Garfield would be silent in many areas on some of the things that we have talked about today. And I have some fear of the old Mike Harris days coming back of cuts. Dalton McGuinty, Mr. Larson's leader, has had 8 years to do what he's now promised to do in 4 weeks. And the Green Party option, although very specialized and very detailed, does not quite encompass all that we need. So I would encourage you on October 6th to vote for Andrea Horvath. A vote for Doris Middleton is for Andrea Horvath. A vote for change that puts people first. Thank you very much for tuning in.
Thank you.